Story 1. I was washing my dog at a local pet store. They have public dog baths there with numerous signs about the cost of using them. I was rinsing my dog off when I heard someone ask an employee, "Do you guys trim dog nails here?" I kept rinsing because I don't work there and assumed they were talking to an employee. I also couldn't see them because the dog bath is somewhat tucked behind some shelves. "Excuse me," I heard someone say in an annoying voice. I still didn't look up. I don't work there. I heard the dog wash gate open, so I glanced over my shoulder. There are multiple baths to use there and saw someone staring at me with their hands up. The confused customer pulled down their mask and strongly said, "Excuse me, do you trim nails here?" I replied, "Oh, I don't think they do, but I don't work here. You'll have to ask someone who does." "But I just asked you." "Why would I ask someone else?" they responded. "Because I don't work here," I reiterated. "If you don't work here, why are you washing someone's dog?" "I'm washing my own dog." "This is a public dog bath," I explained, pointing at the sign that read, "Dog bath $10 per use." "So you don't trim nails here? You just wash dogs. How much would it be if I brought 2 dogs in?" "Sir, I don't work here. I just told you that 3 times. Go ask someone else," I said, growing increasingly frustrated. "I don't care if you don't work here. That's still bad customer service." I already have a short temper with unreasonable people, but I was getting more than annoyed by this horrible customer, especially since he kept getting closer and closer in a gated bathing area, and my dog was starting to get agitated by him. I exclaimed, "I don't work here, you silly person. I told you over and over again. Please leave." My dog started growling, which he only does because of excitement. He's not aggressive. The customer stormed off, slamming the gate and knocking over some dog treats. I could hear him from the other side of the store yelling at the cashier. "Horrible customer. I want his name. Now. I want him fired." Cashier: "I'm sorry, who are you talking about?" "The employee at the dog wash." The cashier looked in my direction and said, "I'm the only employee here. That man washing his dog is a customer. Is there something I can do for you?" "Yes, get your manager on the phone." "But that man is not an employee. I'm actually the only employee here today." "I don't care." The cashier was silent for a few seconds and said, "I just told you he doesn't work here. I'm not calling the manager, but I am going to ask you to leave. I'm not leaving until you call your manager. If you don't leave, I'm calling the police." "Forget you. I'm writing a review. This is terrible customer service." The horrible customer stormed out. I've never in my life been confused as an employee anywhere, especially at this pet store. They wear blue shirts. I was wearing a black hoodie. After he was yelling at the cashier, I couldn't tell if he was entirely sound of mind. Either way, I don't work here. Story 2. This is an event I remembered after reading someone else's post regarding young teachers. For a bit of background, this event happened 6 years ago. I was a trainee teacher, fresh out of university after just completing my art degree in the United Kingdom. I was nearing the end of my postgraduate certificate in education, a year-long teaching qualification specializing in art and design at secondary high school level. I was 23 but looked a lot younger, and the school I was training at allowed teachers as well as sixth formers 18-year-old students to wear smart business attire. Both staff and sixth formers wore lanyards with school identification cards. Teachers wore black lanyards, and students wore the color that corresponded to their house. I had seen the teacher involved in this event around school before. I try to say hello or at least smile at other staff and students, but I remember this particular teacher wasn't very approachable or friendly. I will say teachers are hardworking and often stressed. I don't hold her cold demeanor against her. As a new teacher, I was just rather intimidated by her. For the sake of this story, let's call her intimidating teacher. I also need to explain that on certain days and at certain times, teachers are required to do duty, which involves standing in a location and ensuring students are in the right place and behaving properly. It was lunchtime, and I was walking towards a few teachers who were on duty when I saw intimidating teacher among them. I made eye contact with her. Intimidating teacher: "Excuse me, where do you think you're going?" Me: "Upstairs." It's lunchtime, and I don't have a lesson. Intimidating teacher. You are not allowed to be in this area. Students are to be in the hall. I calmly held up the lanyard so the black color was visible and continued walking. Intimidating teacher. Oh, she exclaimed, confused. At this point, I walked past intimidating teacher and the two other members of staff who were beginning to laugh. I didn't wait to continue the conversation but hastily continued up the stairs. I was rather confused and embarrassed that a teacher would speak shout at another member of staff the way they did. She had mistaken me for a sixth former, but that wasn't an excuse. I made a mental note never to speak to students or staff in that way. Story 3. Hi, so before I write this all down, this is my first time writing a story on I don't work here, lady, so if this is incorrect, please delete, and I'll upload to the correct subreddit. However, I'll be back because, working in this shop, I have many stories, but this one has been a highlight. So here's the cast list. Me, customer, manager, jerkhead. I used to work in a store that sold many gadgets and gizmos for tech-savvy geeky people, and I'll admit, before I was transferred and promoted, I enjoyed this store more, but that's another story. We had demo items which we were to play with in the store to promote and sell them. These included toy drones, kinetic sand, mobile phone virtual reality goggles, and my favorite, the crossbow. One evening, I was working with my manager, and since it was quiet and an hour before closing, I had stocked up and decided to have a chat with the manager while playing with a crossbow and shooting suction cup darts at a target which was facing away from the store entrance. It was placed right next to the tills, but we didn't mind the darts. This was when a lad around the age of 18-20 came in, and he seemed like someone who would have fitted in well with us. I greeted him into the store, and he asked if he could have a go of the crossbow, to which I obliged because that's what it was there for. Obviously, I had to supervise him in case he tried to do anything silly, but he didn't. Anyway, he was firing the darts, and I went around to the till area to collect the ones that both stuck to the dartboard and ones that fell on the floor. Just so it's clear, our tops are black with the store's name on them, and I usually wore a black long-sleeve top underneath since I was body-conscious about my arms. The customer was wearing a long-sleeved black top. This is the source of confusion. The customer and I were chatting about some new games that had just come out, and as I went around to the tills to pick up the darts, I got on the floor to fish for one that had rolled underneath them. Then I heard this conversation. Jerkhead. Give me that. This is promoting violence, and I've had many complaints. Customer. Oh, okay, sorry. Me. Excuse me, what's the matter? Jerkhead. I've told him before that I don't want to see this being used as it's a weapon. Me. Right, he doesn't work here, so I don't know if you've confused him with another employee. Also, I don't understand how a bit of plastic that shoots suction cup darts is classified as a weapon. Jerkhead. I've seen him working in here plenty of times, and I've warned him on occasions to put this away as it promotes violence. At this point, I was flabbergasted at the sheer arrogance of this man, and he's supposed to be the owner of the shopping mall our shop is situated in. As I was questioning him as to why a toy crossbow was promoting violence, my manager walked in to hear Jerkhead saying, Jerkhead, because this looks like a weapon and fires projectiles. Regardless of whether they're plastic, it's still promoting violence and weaponry, and I don't want this in the mall. Manager. Okay then, so what about the armed police that walk around here daily? Or the game shop that's currently promoting Call of Duty? Or even shops that sell films, games, and music relating to violence, wars, and weapons? Jerkhead. Well, they're licensed to sell those products. Manager. No. You've harassed my staff many times now for petty reasons. You have just spoken rudely to a customer, and I will happily back him up when he makes a formal complaint about you. At this point, the jerkhead threw the crossbow onto a table and walked away. My manager just looked at me and the customer and said, "What a jerk," which we both laughed at. I apologized to the customer about the situation, but he saw the funny side of it and was confused about why the jerkhead targeted us, to which the manager and I shrugged. The customer bought a crossbow and target, to which I gave a 10% discount, and he left happy. Extra, the customer came in plenty more times, and we became friendly with each other and are still good friends to this day. He brought up the situation to me yesterday, which I said I had to post to "I don't work here, lady." Story 4. English is not my mother language. This happened to my cousin a couple of years ago, and since he has no interest in Reddit, he let me post it here. My family is from Chile, and my cousin could be considered a light-skinned Latino. He went on a vacation work trip to the United States of America with his group of friends, who are also a traditional dance group. While they were in the United States of America, they were hired to dance at a few events. During one of these events, he realized that the type of soda he likes had run out, so he went with his dance outfit on to buy some at a nearby store. Now, this type of costume is called huaso elegante and is used to dance cuca. It is very different from a Mexican charro. This happened in May, a few days before Cinco de Mayo. C is cousin, and DK is dumb Karen. My cousin went to the supermarket, grabbed a soda bottle, and then he heard a loud voice. Karen, excuse me, where are the... What the heck do you think you're doing? He turned around to see a white woman wearing sunglasses and clothes that were too small for her many meals ago. Cousin, ooh? Karen, don't play dumb. Who do you think you are to wear that outfit? Do you think Mexican culture is an ornament? Where is the manager of this store? How dare they use Mexican culture to earn money? Cousin, I'm not sure what. Karen, you are not innocent either, agreeing to do such a disrespectful thing. Give me your name now. I'll report you and this store to corporate. Cousin, I'm not. Karen, oh yes, you are. You will do it now, or you are fired. At this point, the woman's screams had drawn a small crowd, while Karen gave a speech on racism, cultural appropriation, Mexico, and politics. At this point, my cousin was already angry. He needed to get back on stage soon, so he just interrupted her and said in his broken English, Cousin, Chilean insults, shut up already. I'm not Mexican, I'm Chilean. Mexico is not the only country in Latin America. You Chilean insults, ignorant person. This is my culture, and if you more Chilean insults are so racist that you can't differentiate one Latino culture from another, it's not my problem. Now get out of my way. I need to pay for my drink because I don't work here. And if you want to stop being so ignorant, go to that cultural center and pay to see our culture, which is where I do work. Then he left with even more Chilean insults. One would think that the part about not working here and talking about the cultural center would put some sense into her head. But no, she decided to double down on her foolishness. My cousin paid for the drink, but was detained by security at the door because Karen reported that a man in a Mexican suit had attacked her, and now she demanded that they arrest him, get his name, and have him fired from his job. My cousin was running out of time to get back on stage, and security wanted to check the cameras before calling the police, to which this woman refused and just wanted my cousin to be arrested. The problem was that to check the cameras, they needed the manager of the store, who had gone out to lunch recently. Fortunately, one of the witnesses was a Peruvian who recognized the characteristic insults of my country and gave testimony. My cousin received a gift card for the inconvenience, and the woman was banned from that supermarket since it was not the first time that she had made a whole scene about the clothes of other buyers or politics. Story 5. This happened years ago when I was still in university. My dad was picking me up from my college, and he brought my little brother with him, who sat in the back. He stopped near my school gym. Keep in mind that my dad was never a rideshare driver. He didn't have any rideshare company logo on his car. He saw me walking toward him, so he unlocked the car door. Then suddenly, these two girls approached his car and started to open the back door. My dad, with his limited English, yelled at them because he thought they were trying to snatch my brother. These two girls were quite embarrassed and scared because an older man was yelling at them in an unknown language. I basically had to rush over to explain the situation for both parties. I guess this should be a lesson for all people. Please check the license plate of your rideshare car before you open the door. Story 6. Okay, so my cousin is a prankster. She likes telling jokes, and one of her favorites is during the holidays. She likes to tell me my uncle, her dad, is coming to pick me up. If I'm being honest, my uncle is not a nice man. He yells at me and everyone for everything. He lies about people to make them look bad and himself look good. And he makes fun of me for being overweight. He's very verbally abusive. It's gotten to the point where I've pretty much gray rocked him, which is basically no contact. And her favorite prank is telling me that he's coming to pick me up to take me to family gatherings, which I usually avoid going to if he's there, and 2 hours in the car with him. That's literally terrible. So, a couple of weeks ago, she lied and told me he called and was gonna come pick me up for my birthday. I felt like I was having a panic attack. I remember crying, hyperventilating. I was pacing back and forth, trying to figure out some way out of it. And yes, visiting him is just that bad. She started laughing. I told her that's not funny. She knows how I feel about that man, she said. Don't you feel better now that you know he's not actually coming? I haven't forgotten that. It's been 2 weeks. I've had enough of that prank. I wanted to prank her, to kind of get her back. I remembered her biggest fear, clowns. She's been scared to death of clowns since she was a kid. So, I had a friend who's over 6 feet tall dress up in a scary-looking clown suit. I told her I got free dinner for 2 coupons for my birthday to her favorite restaurant and wanted to share it with her to bait her. We left, and I had my clown in place. The plan was to stop in the middle of this old rural road and stop the car at a specific spot where my friend was hiding. Everything went according to plan. My friend parked his old junk car in the ditch on the side of the road. I stopped and said we need to check it out, see if they need help. While she's looking in it and looking around for the owner, I sneak back to my car. My clown runs out of an old barn and straight for us. She saw him, froze, and started screaming. She ran to my car, but I sped off before she could get in. I didn't abandon her. I just drove over a hill to where she couldn't see me from where the old car was and watched in my rearview mirror. She tried running with a clown chasing her, screaming for help. He caught up to her, and she got on her knees and started crying. He laughed and revealed it was a joke. I drove back and started laughing with him. She told me that wasn't funny, and I repeated what she told me, the "don't you feel better" line. She screamed and yelled the whole car ride at me, saying that I could have scared her to death. I told her that's how I feel when she tells me about my uncle.